Barry, you mightn't have noticed. There was one more cameo. I'm just about to send it to you here now. It was Roman Intimac was in Dream of Romance. I don't know if you knew
Oh, superb!
that. He's one of the.
He's
He's one of.
gangster number 4.
Joe presents Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Now, you chose our movie of the week, and that is Groundhog Day, one of my favourite films ever, by Bill Murray, or starring Bill Murray. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I've noticed recently. People more and more like Groundhog Day is an expression now. It's not a movie, or it's a comment, or it's like to sum something up quickly. Yeah, it's just Groundhog Day,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is, yeah.
And everybody's so familiar with what that means. Oh, geez, isolation is like Groundhog Day, and everybody keeps saying it. And so I kind of thought, right, well, I thought it was going to be in that category of kind of appropriate movies for us to watch, like Contagion. We both watched as well. Frighteningly accurate.
Absolutely.
Scary,
yeah.
and then we've both watched.
Don't watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good though.
Doesn't leave you with a good taste in your mouth.
And then I realized I don't think I've ever watched I watched it last night, obviously Groundhog Day. I don't know if I've ever watched it like fully from start to finish. I think I've just seen bits of it or dropped in and it's been on TV because I'm familiar with lots of bits of it, but I've never watched it in its entirety.
Right.
And yeah, it's I don't know if I massively loved it or massively enjoyed it.
Really?
It's so like Bill Murray. It is nothing without Bill Murray. He's everything. Like he is so dry, so sarcastic, so funny, and it just completely collapses without him. So it's totally reliant.
But I think that's why they set up the film like that. So they set it up being a fairly normal kind of bland old time with, they can't have it, they want it to be a boring
Yes,
world, a
yeah.
boring world that he lives in. And I think Tom Hanks was actually supposed to be the one that played Phil Connors
Oh, really?
originally, but he wasn't as much of a dickhead. He wasn't enough of a dickhead.
Yeah.
So they got, but I think that's my take. And you're right, Bill Murray. He's like my favorite actor of all time. And around this time, he'd done Ghostbusters. He'd done Caddyshack. What About Bob? Some of my favorite films. But this, I think Pat said earlier on that he potentially should have won an Oscar for it. And
So what year was this? 93, 94?
93, yeah.
So
93.
who did win the Oscar that year? I don't suppose you know off the top of your head. When you're on the
No.
spot.
I'd say maybe Dances with Wolves. Did he win an Oscar? Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't. I don't
No.
know. It's like, it's so clever. Blind Boy from Rubber Bandits was on about this recently.
I
About,
heard
like,
this. Yeah. It was
Yeah,
brilliant.
he's talking about it as an example of how to live like a Buddhist, and how the Buddhist teachings. Which, did you listen to that show?
I did.
Podcast?
That's
Yeah.
what put it in my head. That was about a month ago or a few weeks ago. Anyway, that's what put it
Yeah.
in my head initially. He had a whole like.
I was
kinda-
back at Christmas. It was before Christmas.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
He had a whole kind of like a philosophical approach to the whole thing, which he maybe potentially overthinking things a little bit, but I had that in my head when I was watching it.
Well, I think like in our current climate, if you look at it, and it kind of inspired me that the journey that like I think everyone should watch it. It's such a brilliant film. The journey that he goes on, he's obviously a bit of a dickhead, gets stuck in this rut of the same day, living every day, and it's this mundane, weird little town, and they're having the Groundhog Day, and then he starts overindulging, realizing that there's no consequences, so he starts. Like, so now we're at home, we're doing nothing. We could just sit in our holes and watch telly and eat food, and we would ultimately be unhappy. Whereas when he starts doing the right thing and applying himself, learning piano, just being kind, being good, he starts to really, I don't know, become living a happier, more enjoyable life. So that's the message. But I just need to spit some of the fucking funniest parts, man. When he's spoofing your one Andy McDowell into trying and score him, and
it shows how straightforward the initial score with Nancy was.
yes,
That's so straightforward. Just find out what school she went to, who her English teacher was, and then spoof, and that's it done. And then, as you say, Rita, it's just so long-winded, and he cocks it up so many times.
when he's talking French poetry to her, like, and she the first time he goes, what did you study in college? And she's like, 18th century French poetry. And he just bursts out laughing at her, and he goes, "What a waste of time!" And the next night it goes, he recites this French poem, and he wins her over a little bit.
I enjoyed the bit whenever they're making the snowman outside, and then he's talking about, I'd love to be able to do this with my kids, and then the other kids start throwing snowballs at him. He's like, "Are any of you guys up for adoption?"
Yeah, he starts totally losing his mind a little bit, and he's overdoing it. Yeah. But look, I think it's a hilarious film, but there's also a good message in it as well. Let's be like, apply ourselves. Apply ourselves and be sound. Yeah. So yeah, get on it, watch it. And
so that's the overriding message: be sound, be dead on, be nice. But I still prefer Bill Murray when he's being sarcastic and dry and a dick to everyone.
Yeah, I did enjoy being a dick. He's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what I also love? Your man Ned Ryerson.
Yeah.
He's like the biggest pothole on the planet. Like, do you know, we all have met that guy that you're like, oh Jesus Christ, this fella, and we're all just too nice to him and too nice, and
he reverse potholes him.
He reverse potholes him. Like, remember Geordie Murphy used to do this, where if like after a match, there's nothing worse than someone coming up talking to you about the game when you've played shit or something, and they try and tell you what you should have done or something, and you're just like, I'm trying to have a pint, would you go away? And Geordie Murphy used to try and make them go away by reverse potholing them. Which is what he does. He starts hugging Ned Ryerson and getting reeled up on him, and Ned's like, Jesus.
Yeah. I remember Ferg McFadden used to do that as well. The World Cup 2011, we were at an event there, very potholy, and Ferg and someone else, I forget who it was, they're like, we are going to town on this pothole. Like, the guy was actually backing up, and Ferg was keep coming at him.
Ned
eventually he just sickened him of him, and then that was it. It was easy.
That guy is an incredible character in that film, man. Well done. The guy Egon from Ghostbusters, Harry Ramis, he directed the film as well.
Oh, right.
There's a doctor in it as well. Very impressive. This week, there's so many options, but I've tried to avoid the TV as much as I can, Trimby. But I spotted True Romance was an option now on Netflix. One of my favourite films of all time. So I watched it on Friday night with a can of Guinness in my hand, and it just blew me away how good that film
I forgot how good it was. Yeah. I watched it a few years ago, and yeah, I know it's right up there. It's definitely in my top 10. And I just forgot how many cameos there are and how many one-liners, and I just forgot how good it was. And Anna was glued to it as well. It says a lot about a movie whenever I put it on. She's running around making a cup of tea, she's on her phone a bit, and then 15-20 minutes into it, she's glued to it. And I won her over with True Romance.
Nice. Yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen it, we won't ruin it for you, but get stuck in. It's about a couple that meet they meet actually in Detroit, Clarence and Alabama. Quite a weird way to meet, let's say. He's a video store nerd guy, and she is a call girl. She's not a hooker, she's a call girl. And she gets paid to visit him on his birthday and watch a movie with him, and he doesn't know, and then they fall in love. He wants to get her stuff from her pimp, and he goes to the pimp's gaff, gets her stuff back.
Gary Oldman
ends up taking Gary Oldman,
looking very on Gary Oldman like.
Yeah, well, you're right. I think I read somewhere like this is the beginning of films where they use all these random cameos. And they just throw the kitchen sink at True Romance. So you're watching it and you're like 20 minutes in, and next thing you're like, this is class. This is Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette in two of their best roles, and then all of a sudden, Gary Oldman is this pimp who is pretending to be black, but he's clearly a white guy.
I don't understand it. I thought it was hilarious, but I didn't understand it. It ain't whiteboard day.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that scene with him and Christian Slater when he's getting his stuff back is phenomenal. And then Dennis Hopper shows up as Christian Slater's dad for 10 minutes, and then Christopher Walken shows up and has this unbelievable scene.
Raj Walken. Yeah.
James Gandolfini, before he became famous for the Sopranos, he's a bad guy. Brad Pitt just decides that he's wants to be in this movie, and he's a roommate bum sitting on the couch.
Hey, well, had Brad Pitt had he done much at this stage?
He had done Thelma and Louise, and but he was everyone knew he was going to be a superstar. He was hot property, and then he just decided, which he did quite well throughout his career. He has done in picking quite random roles to do, and this one was just up there at the best. Just like a little stoner lying on the couch. He's about 3 scenes in the whole film. I think
you mightn't have noticed, Barry. You mightn't have noticed. There was one more cameo. I'm just about to send it to you here now. It was Roman Intimac was in Dream of Romance. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, superb!
He's one of the.
He's gangster number 4.
He's one of Christopher Walken guys that comes into the drop at the end.
He kicks the door open. Yeah, that's superb. Is he smoking a cigarette in any scene?
I'd be astounded if he's not smoking a cigarette.
A la Entomac. I love those Sicilian guys with their sunglasses. So any penguins that want to get involved in this and tell us your favourite scene. I think we have to vote for a favourite scene here. I've broke it down into a few. The when they fall in love for the first time, when they've had their night of passion, and then they're sitting on the balcony, and he works out that she's a call. Or she tells him that she's a call girl, and then he's like, "It's grand, it's fine." And then and then they tell each other they love each other, and it's only after a few hours of meeting each other, and Hans Zimmer's music kicks in. Do 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 do. That's just hairs in the back of your neck. So there's that. Then there's the Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper scene when Dennis Hopper won't tell him where his son is, and Christopher Walken saying that he's a Sicilian, and Sicilians know when people are lying, and he knows that he's lying, and then Hopper comes out with this unbelievable story about Sicilian people who were spawned from the Moors from Africa. Is just that's so Tarantino wrote the film. He didn't direct it. Tony Scott wrote it, but that is some scene, man. I think Tarantino heard that at a bar one night, that story, and then he wrote it into the film.
Yeah, Hopper is he's really anxious and nervous, and he's frightened by how intimidating Walken is until a point, and I guess the point, and then he just goes, "This guy's gonna kill me regardless." So then he totally loosens up, and then he just starts just sharing this incredible story, and his whole everything just changes. That scene's the one for me.
Is it? Okay, it was that one, or then the Drexel, who is Gary Oldman, when himself and Christian Slater meet for the first time, and he thinks he's kind of scaring Christian Slater because he's a pimp, and he's like eating his Chinese food, and he's throwing the light at him and stuff, and Christian Slater's just not put out by it. Like he's like, remember, he's like, there's a TV with next to you, and there's a titty on the TV, and you're not even looking at the titty. That shows me that you're nervous. And then he's like, and then Christian Slater's like comes back. He knows exactly what film it is. He's seen it like 20 times, so he's like just completely double bluffs him. And then they have this, and Samuel L. Jackson is actually is he in that?
Yeah,
scene?
that's right. I forgot about him. Yeah,
cameo. He pops up. There's a lot of bloodbath in it. It's pretty. There's a lot of shooting.
There's a lot of blood in the Patricia Arquette and Gandolfini scene.
Yeah.
Towards the end, where they turn up at the hotel.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable scene. I think I heard somewhere talking before about that gets a bit real when that kicks in. It's like the whole film has been a little bit like someone's dream, and then when that comes in, you're like, holy shit, he's beating the crap out of her, and he's a bit of a psychopath. But she eventually wins out in the end. But
Yeah, she looks spot on in the next scene though. She just sorts herself out and she's fine again.
She's like, yeah, I got hit by a basketball in the face.
She's fine.
So yeah, I think I'll go with the Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper scene, my favorite.
Yeah.
And I love my wife and I, Orla. We both realized within a few weeks of going out that this was our favorite film, and we had the song that they have sex to at the start as our first dance song. It's called.
It's the first time you had sex.
It's called "Wounded Bird" by Eddie and JoJo, and that's how far back my love for this song goes, or that film goes. So yeah, that's our movie of the week, Penguins. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I went to see The Joker last night, which is now straight into my top 3 films of all time.
Behind Barbed Wire and Jaws.
Didn't have enough sharks to top Jaws.
Not enough boobs.
Not enough Pamela Anderson, not just boobs. You can get any old pair of boobs. Pamela Anderson in plastic latex, swinging on an old thing. Swing.
Yoke.
So if it had sharks and Pamela Anderson, it'd been straight in number 1, untouchable.
Yeah.
But despite not having that, Joaquin Phoenix, is that how you say his name?
Boobs.
Sharks with freaking laser beams and boobs. Joaquin Phoenix just riding them around. Is it Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Or Jacqueline?
Oh, it's Joaquin.
Joaquin.
In
Joaquin
in
Phoenix.
D4. I think if you say Jordan Lamour, you say Joaquin.
Joaquin Lamour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't say Lamour, we say Larmer. So it's Jack and Larmer.
Jordan Lamar.
Yeah. He was unreal. So,
That's enough.
cut to the chase. Premise of the film, you know what the Joker's about. You know he's laughing, he's a clown.
Yeah.
But like we've always seen him from the perspective of Batman, which is like Batman's class, and here's this little gold bag on the side, just trying to whatever he'd be trying to do to him. And it's always a little bit slapstick. So this one is like proper takes a look at where a guy like the Joker comes from. Mm-hmm. So dark. Like he suffered serious mental and physical abuse as a child, grew up in a society where he was told from the get-go that he was never going to make it. He's now dealing with a disabled mother who wasn't the greatest influence on his life. He's always been dealt a shit hand. He's, society, the powers that be, the man has always shoved shit in his face, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, he's
got this mental condition that he can't stop laughing when he gets nervous, and that's why he's a clown. He tries to channel it, but he says in the film he's never had a minute of happiness his entire life.
Oh, that's so
you can
sad.
you can understand.
Yeah.
So halfway through the film, you're watching it going, and there's a lot of people.
That poor serial killer.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, but he's not a serial killer yet. Oh. There's a lot of people watching it, and there's a lot of people complaining that this is going to be kind of a green light for people who might be that way inclined or might suffer like he does. Inclined. Might suffer the way that they might take this as an inspiring, like use it as inspiration to do something mad, which is a genuine possibility, because you're watching it going, you're backing him, you're kind of going, fuck, he's got such... And then when he starts acting a little bit crazy and starts killing people, you're kind of rooting for him. Mm-hmm. How weird is that?
Yeah.
You're rooting for him, right? So, like Gotham City, right? It's still Gotham City. So that's like the world in a little under microscope. And within that city, you have the good, the hero that is Batman. You have the innocent victims. You've got all the politicians. Then you've got the evil bad guys as well. So it's all in a little micro environment, but it could also be looked at as like I'm sure this is what some comic nerds have looked at, that this is the inside of every single person's head. Like we've all these different things going on.
Yeah.
All these evil voices, all this, and it's however your life path goes that you go a certain way or another.
As in you become a Joker, you become a Batman.
Yeah, right? So you could look at it like that, and then you could look at it as Irish rugby is Gotham. The whole of Irish rugby is Gotham City, right?
and then the Irish team is Batman, because they're just trying to win the World Cup for Gotham City. They're trying to do good, and we are out here and we're either, you know, jokers, or we're victims, or we're supporters, or we're Alfred, or we're all these people just trying to...
You'd be gutted if you're Alfred.
I think Rala's Alfred.
Yeah, got it.
Would you? Rala's happy out.
Yeah, but he could be Batman.
He's
He's
happy out.
Alfred.
I got you a new uniform there, Batman, and all that. Got you new gear.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. We'll get to him. So I think we all have a little bit of a joker inside us, and like when Ireland were losing to Japan, there was a little bit in a lot of people that were like, I wonder how much they're going to lose by. Yeah. I wonder how much they can lose by. Come on, Japan.
We talked about that, sure. Like, yeah, we became Japan
A little bit
supporters.
of
Jokers. We became jokers.
Seeing how much they could tear them down. Because, you know, Batman is always... There's people in Gotham, even though he's trying to do good, they're trying to tear him down. What's that about?
Yeah.
Why do we have this part of our brain that's like, I want to see it burn. Yeah. I want to see how much they can lose. And then they might go out against Russia and they'll lose again. There's a little bit of us going, will they lose to Russia? Will they get knocked out? Yeah. Why aren't we just being more supportive?
That happened in the 2007 World Cup whenever Ireland nearly got beat by Georgia. I think Donica was on the mic on the bus a couple of days later and fined a couple of lads because there was an audible whenever Georgia nearly scored but didn't.
From the bench?
From the squad, like.
So it's even in the players.
It's because everybody roots for the underdog.
Yeah.
Imagine Georgia beat Ireland. Imagine Japan beat Ireland. Came true.
The Joker is, he comes out in us.
All right, well, it was Midnight Run. You seem to very much enjoy it. Robert De Niro and the other lad, basically a bounty hunter in Chicago. He's given about 3 days to get to collect a bounty. What was his name? Goodwin, was it? The Duke. The Duke is his name. He's got to get the Duke, and he's got to get him from New York City back to LA by Friday night. I didn't realize until about halfway through that this was actually a comedy, because you look like with that puzzled face in you now that you're just working this out right now.
No. One of the points that I was going to make was that literally 4 or 5 minutes into it, it dawned on me that it was a comedy, and I was like, I didn't see it coming because it's De Niro. When would this have been in around Taxi Driver?
This was 89, I think, 88, 89. So it's a good 10 years after Taxi Driver, I'd say.
Oh, really? Okay. But the first scene, he starts up by, he's going after this guy, picks the lock, the guy shoots a hole in the door, and he goes after him. And it's gritty enough. Like I thought it was going to be a tense. I thought it was going to be a tense kind of thriller, and then the soundtrack is the big giveaway. I don't know. It took you halfway through the movie to realize the soundtrack just changes the tone completely. It's not a million miles from Beverly Hills Cop. It just kicks in. You're like, oh, these guys are having a good time as well.
I feel like there's a guy just at home with an electric guitar and maybe a little drum loop machine, just watching the scenes and like jamming over it.
Yeah.
But
it has guitar that plugged into a cat.
For me, it was the Slags. When they start calling each other, they just abuse the shit out of each other for the whole thing. Like, and especially the gangsters are calling each other dummies and stuff like that. And there was a couple of pecker breaths in there and motherfuckers and stuff like that. Yeah. And then they really kicked in for me when there was like so many people knocked out with punches.
Yeah.
Like every time someone punched, they'd be like immediately asleep. Can you imagine if that was happening in rugby? Like there was like that many. Imagine the HIAs that these lads must have.
Imagine
one of them.
The
second bounty hunter gets knocked out about 10 times. I'm like, Jesus, this fella.
I like the character, the two goons. Like there's one who kind of knows his stuff, and then the other guy, the taller guy, he was just there for comedic value. Exclusively comedic value, because the other guy's on the phone and he's talking to, what do you call the head gangster? What's he called? Serrano. He's on the phone to Serrano. Serrano's threatening him, and he's very. It's a tense conversation, and his mate is like, "Ooh, shadow boxing" in the background.
I think a lot of that stuff was all done off the cuff. Apparently, a lot of the scenes between De Niro and the Duke were all kind of ad lib, which makes it even more funny because they're both intense kind of characters. Also, the cars. I wish my car skidded like it did in the 80s. My car going around the corner, it was just like, even it wasn't even going that fast. And the lack of mobile phones, obviously, quite interesting. But yeah, hilarious film. I'd highly recommend it. You?
Oh yeah, I loved it, and again, it's the same things happen to me quite a bit with Groundhog Day as well, um, or no, 28 Days Later as well. I I realized I've seen bits of it. That happens a lot with older films, and it doesn't happen anymore because no one just sits down and just catches the end of the movie and then runs off and gets dinner, or like everybody sits down to watch a movie on Netflix. You specifically switch on that movie because you've set that time aside to watch that specific movie.
Yeah.
It was a different time. So I realized kind of halfway through I've seen bits of this. The car chases were brilliant. The car chases were there. It reminded me of a little bit of Blues Brothers, the Blues Brothers car chases.
Yeah. Again,
Just
with
cop
the
cars
sound.
just slipping and falling. Those cop cars, like they like one bump in the road
Who's
and they're already on
driving
their
them?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't invest in their kind of the cars, the police. I would actually love to have worked in a 1980s police department. Now that you mentioned it, because there's so many of them. They do fuck all. They're sitting around wearing pretty slick suits. Always the lads in the background are just sitting on desks, kind of chatting, having a little fag. All of them wearing sunglasses all the time.
Every table has got that many documents sitting on it. No one's doing any of those.
No one's
doing any of that
doing
work.
it. They're just chatting, and there's always be striking deals. Like it was never about the letter of the law. They were never throwing the book at you. It was always like, "I go on, sure, it'll be grand."
Yeah, yeah. No,
robbing,
thumbs up from me.
like be robbing fags off the prisoners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Truman Show. What a film, man! Hang on, I get my notes on this. So how appropriate is this for this time as well? I know the Groundhog Day was unbelievable, the suiting, but anyone that hasn't seen the film, it's on Sky. It's free if you have Sky. The premise is
to give our penguins a bit of a shout out here.
Yeah.
We got like some traction in the Facebook group.
Yeah,
And
you
we
put the
ignored-
question in.
and we ignored every suggestion.
Did none of them suggest this?
I don't think so.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
We
and there
did
were so many good movies suggested by the Penguins, and then I text Barry a bit of a short list, thinking you would select one of them, and you just went, "Nah, Truman Show."
I texted a few of my mates, and one of them came back with this, and I was like, "Yes!"
Yeah.
So but I agree that the Penguins did have loads of good options. So thank you for that. But I think no one's going to disagree with this one. It's very fitting for this time again, similar to Groundhog Day. Jim Carrey, Laura Linney, Ed Harris, directed by Peter Wynn back in 1998. He is a 30-year-old. Jim Carrey plays him. He is, I don't know, he works in some office in a lovely little seaside town, but his whole life is basically a reality TV show that he's unaware of. And he has grown up with everyone around him being an actor, including his parents, his wife, his job, and everyone that he interacts with every day. And then he starts to see some holes in it, and then the whole thing unfolds. He's basically inside a big, huge dome, which they've created a world. And they've even created scenarios like his father dying from drowning at a young age, which made him afraid of water, so he never wants to leave where he lives. Brilliant idea. And this was before reality TV show was ever a thing. And obviously it's different because he doesn't realize that he's in the TV show. He thinks that this is his real life.
So this was 1998. So
Yep.
Big Brother was the first reality TV show, wasn't it?
Yeah, after
And
this
it was like what, 2 years later, 3 years,
yeah,
something like that.
99, 2000 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is with this, the reason why that movie lands and people identify it, because like most movies I watch or most stories I read or anything, you put yourself in situations. If someone's telling you a story, you put yourself there, and you always think, I wonder what I'd be like, watching Commando. I would be like, imagine I was like killing all these bad guys. I could do that. I could definitely do that. Or if I was like Home Alone, and the robbers breaking into my house, I could swing paint cans off the balcony. And I could take them. I could do
Put a
that.
fridge down the stairs, yeah.
I could do all that, no problem. And then you watch this and you're like, everybody, even like everybody has wondered. I wonder, even before this, I think people have wondered, is this my life? Am I in the Truman Show? Am I right? Or is it just...
Oh yeah, my mate, like when I put it to my mates, they were like, we've all had moments in our life usually. And it wasn't from a narcissistic point of view. It was just moments in their life where they've been like, things have been so fucking mental that they've gone, am I in the Truman Show here?
Yeah.
Or something when you're maybe a teenager and you're a little bit naive. However, saying that, I think you could easily be in the Truman Show, man. You fit the Truman bill so well, like.
There's some abuse coming here. I'm looking forward to this.
Go on. You're kind of squeaky and happy, and you could be strolling around. Hey,
afternoon, good evening, and day.
Good night. And your missus is a doctor, and you've got a happy life and the 3 kids and all this. No, they forced, like, made you really religious, so you were quite good and you were likable and stuff like that. You're real happy and you're very well behaved because they couldn't handle you if you were fucking off the wall.
Unpredictable. When he gets unpredictable, they can't handle him.
Yes, they made you straight-laced, got you into rugby. They'll be good. That'll make it entertaining for people to watch and stuff.
Selling
like that.
insurance.
Yeah. So they got you into that, and then they were like, "Oh, let's get him out of rugby," and they got you out of that, and then they want to make you a bit edgy, so they bring me into your life, and I make
too edgy. Get rid of him.
Edgy. And I start telling you, man, this is not real, man. It's the aliens, man. They're controlling everything. So yeah, I don't know. You could fit it, but did you ever feel like that?
No, but I do.
Okay.
I am skeptical. I think if because they remember Ed Harris talks about, they do the interview with him as the director, and he talks about it all started with that one camera, like it was like in the womb, or like they had footage of him in the womb or whatever it was. So straight evil. Away, like he's been in that environment. If he's in that environment, he would have spotted the weird stuff and the loops and all the fakers and extras early on. Or no, sorry, he would have been so used to them that he never would have noticed them. I don't think if that actually happened, you would never really notice it, because it would be all you ever knew, and there would never be a moment like when you're 30 and go, you know what, this is all fake. It would never happen.
Yeah, maybe there was a lot of cracks. Like there's a few weird little.
It's your entire world. You've no idea.
Okay, yeah.
It's everything. Like everything you've ever learned is there. So you just take it.
Yeah, maybe. I think like we're all living in this own kind of in our own reality now, like reality TV show now with all our social media and stuff like that. So there's a similar kind of world that we've all created around ourselves now, right? Because it's like I don't want to just get rid of all social media, but I'd like to live in it and be real, because it's so much of it is so fake that people will start which comes first, like, they start becoming fake because of it, or are they fake anyway because they've always grown up with it?
Yeah,
it's a bit of a
I think it's when you start singing songs into the camera, that's
me. That's me being me, man. If I didn't do it, that wouldn't be me.
I know you don't like that. I'm sorry.
I do. Have the schlag. Jim Carrey is unbelievable.
One other quick one. You mentioned a few weeks ago Unorthodox, the documentary or the series on Netflix. I watched it last week, and it's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing. Brilliant. Really, really powerful, class. And could be
similar,
like him. Yeah, similar themes. Whenever he got out of the place at the end, why on earth would he like cope or get on in the real world? It just reminded me of that girl one.
There's a brilliant I read that the Truman Show, originally the script was he was supposed to be based in New York, and it was much darker. He was a bit of a drug or an alcoholic, was cheating on his wife with prostitutes, etc. And they were like, we can't have him be that weird because it's not that relatable and it's kind of depressing. So we needed to be like, he is your stereotypical happy-go-lucky, fluffy, everything's great. And it's like, that's what it's like when you go on, like, because it's basically the whole show is about being controlled by branding or products or consumerism, and how your whole life and your experiences are being controlled. You're being told what to do. And I suppose they're if they did that in New York, would be quite different to that, because he'd be, you know, making his own mistakes. But that's why I see all these people on Instagram and social media and stuff that are like, yeah, check out this and stuff like that. It's like, that's so fucking weirdly fake, and I don't know how to deal with that. I can't take
Yeah.
it in. It's so fake.
It makes me hate
And
those products.
yeah,
It makes me
essentially, like,
want them less.
not, yeah. And I had another, oh yeah, so the Charles Manson thing that I'm watching, or listening to, that's all based in Hollywood, when, you know, Hollywood in the 60s was such a crazy place, and everyone was massively influenced, and still is massively influenced. Like, we've also watched In the Shadows, which is a documentary that came out recently, which is about how Hollywood controls our brains with everything we see in Disney, everything we see on television shows, and everything, which is a bit far-fetched. But there's something in it, how we're programmed by what we watch on TV, obviously, because that's all we fucking talk about. But yeah, this Charles Manson thing, like, he got into Hollywood, and everyone that was living in LA at the time, they were all like, in the 60s, everyone became kind of, it was hard to tell different people apart. So everyone was like either a hippie or, businessman, an actor, a musician, whatever. But everyone kind of looked the same. Everyone was just living this wild life, and people became quite, it was hard to tell who was evil, who was good, who was bad, who was talented, who was shit. And it just became this weird world. And when Charles Manson did all those, you know, I suppose, inflicted the murders, he didn't actually commit them himself, but he was responsible for them. It blew a hole open in Hollywood, and it was, you know, you'd realize the underbelly of Hollywood was that it was dirty and grimy, and there was a lot of, you know, people like the government, police, politicians, everyone involved in making it a pretty, I don't know what's the word, just a dangerous place that was kind of quite controlling, and everyone then wanted to be a part of it. Like, we all kind of, everyone's like, oh yeah, Hollywood, and everyone wants to be. So I just feel like the Truman Show is almost that, in a bubble. It's like trying to make people the ideal life. And I think we're all kind of experiencing that now. We're looking at the social media and kind of, oh, the ideal life, but it's all fake.
And
End of my rant.
so yeah, no, so that ideal life on social media and Instagram is, everybody's trying to be unique at the minute. Everybody's trying to come up with something different or quirky, and the sooner we realize we're all exactly the same, the better. Because I've started doing a bit of baking, made a few sourdoughs. I've ordered a coffee machine. I'm not gonna start nailing the latte art. As soon as I start thinking that, then I look at Sean Reedy's cooked the sourdough. I'm like, that was gonna be my thing. I'm like, he's done that now. There's other
He's
people
done
doing
it.
it. Yeah,
So
everybody's.
you're judging yourself based on him. You're kind of comparing yourself, looking at him.
Yeah, well, yeah, or I'm just saying, you think you're unique, you think you're doing something different. Everybody's doing exactly the same thing. Everybody's eating more. Everybody's trying to do 100 burpees a day. Everybody's doing your that run, whatever it's
Yeah.
called, you know. And everybody's doing exactly the same stuff, and we're all clones because we've all got exactly the same influences.
We're all Truman Buckwheat, or whatever his name is.
Jim Carrey.
So we got to break out of it.
We can't.
And Jim Carrey broke out of it, man. So this is like, Jim Carrey is living the Truman Show. He became like the crazy famous, most famous person in the world, charging 20 million for his films over like a 4-year period, from Dumb and Dumber to Pet Detective, then the Truman Show. And then he kind of went a bit mental over the last few years, but it's kind of him just real. You know, have you seen all those interviews in him where he's realizing that
So I've seen a couple. He did a bit with Jerry Seinfeld, comedians drinking coffee in cars or something. Did you see that one?
I didn't see it. No.
He's weird in that. Was Truman Show? It was before Eternal Sunshine. Was that it?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Weird. Like that was a reflection of where he was going at the time. The other thing is he Truman Show was the most normal role for a while that he played. And there were moments where there's The Mask, Ace Ventura, where they're just moments you're like, there you are.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and he's got that face, and he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's perfect though. He's a brilliant, brilliant man.
Yeah.
The Man in the Moon. I told you about this before. That documentary is on Netflix. Here Comes the Cat. Sorry.
Go on, Ginger.